These are the confidential teachings spoken by the living Jesus, written down by Didymus Judas Thomas. And he said, "One who finds the meaning of these teachings will not taste death." Jesus said, "One who seeks should not stop searching until he finds it. And when he finds it, he will be tested. And when he is tested, he will become wonderful. Then he will have command over everything." Jesus said, "If those who guide you say to you, 'Look, the sanctuary is in the sky,' then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, 'It is in the sea,' then the fish will precede you. Rather, the sanctuary is within you, and outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are the children of the living Creator. But if you do not come to know yourselves, then you will have nothing, and will be nothing." Jesus said, "A person advanced in days who doesn't hesitate to ask a child who is 7 days old about the whereabouts of life will live. For those who are first will be last, and they will be alone." Jesus said, "Understand what you see present before you, and that which is hidden from you will be revealed. For there is nothing hidden that will not become apparent." His disciples spoke to him, and asked, "Does it please you for us to fast? And how should we pray? Should we give to charity? And what foods should we abstain from?" Jesus replied, "Don't be dishonest. And whatever you abhor, don't do. Because all these things are seen from the spiritual realm. For nothing hidden will not be revealed. And nothing covered will remain undiscovered." Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion, after being eaten by a man, the lion will become a human. And cursed is the person eaten by the lion will become a human." Then he said, "Being human is like a wise fisherman who cast his net into the sea and pulled it up from the sea full of small fish. Among them he found a fine large fish. That wise fisherman, he threw all the little fish back into the sea, and chose the large fish without hesitation. Those who have ears to hear should listen." Jesus said, "Listen, a farmer went out and planted seeds. Indeed, some fell onto the path, where the birds came and took them. Others fell onto rocks, and couldn't send roots into the soil, they didn't sprout leaves. Still others fell into the weeds, and they choked the seed and the worms ate them. But some others fell upon the good soil and sprouted fruit towards the sky, bearing 60 times and 120 times. Jesus said, "I have started a fire within the material world, just look, I will watch over it until it burns." Jesus said, "This sky will pass away, and the one above it will pass away. The dead do not live, and the living will not die. Those times you ate what was dead, you brought it to life. When you come into the light, what will you do? On that day you were united, you became divided. But when you become divided, what will you do?" The disciples said to Jesus, "We know that you will leave us. Who will become great, and guide us?" Jesus replied, "Wherever you are, you should follow James, devoted to the one from whom heaven and earth were created." Jesus said this to his disciples. "Tell me, what would you liken me to?" Simon Peter replied to him, "You are like a devoted angel." Matthew replied to him, "You are like a wise philosopher." Thomas said to him, "Master, my mouth will not allow me to say what you are likened to." Jesus replied, "I am not your master, because you have drunk from the spring that bubbles up, which I have served." Then he took him and withdrew, and spoke 3 words to him. When Thomas returned to his brothers, they asked him, What did Jesus tell you? Thomas told them, "If I were to tell you the words he spoke to me, you will pick up stones to throw at me, and fire will come out of the stones and burn you." Jesus said to them, "When you practice fasting, you open yourself up to transgression. And when you pray, they will condemn you. And when you are charitable, you harm your inner spirits. And when you travel into their villages and they receive you, eat whatever they put before you. Those who are sick among them, heal them. For what goes into your mouth will not defile you. Rather, what comes out of your mouth is what will defile you." Jesus said, "When you see him who was not born of women, prostrate yourselves onto your faces and worship him. He is your creator." Jesus said, "Perhaps people think I have come to bring peace to the material world. They don't realize that I've come to bring division upon the earth, fire, sword and war. For there will be 5 in the house, and 3 will be against 2, and 2 against 3, father against son and son against father. And they will stand up in solitude." Jesus said, "I will give you what the eyes cannot see, and what the ears cannot hear, and what the hand cannot touch, and won't appear in the mind of man." The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us how the end will be for us." Jesus said, "Have you found the beginning, so that you now seek the end? For the end shall be found where the beginning is. Blessed is one who pays attention to the beginning. He will know the end, and not taste death." Jesus said, "Blessed is he who existed before the beginning. If you become my disciples and listen to my teachings, these stones will serve you. For you there are 5 trees in the spiritual realm, which don't change either in the summer or winter, and their leaves don't fall. One who knows them will not taste death." The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what the sanctuary of heaven is like." He said to them, "It is like a mustard seed. It is the smallest of seeds. But when it falls upon fertile soil it sprouts large branches that become the shelter for the birds of the sky." Mary said to Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" He said, "They are like children living on land that is not theirs. When the owners of field return, they will say, 'Give our land back to us.' They will have to strip naked before them in order to allow them to take it, in order to return their land. This is why I tell you, when the master of the house knows a thief will come, he will be on his guard before he arrives and will not let him break into his domain, his house, and carry away his belongings. You thus must keep watch against the material world. Hold fast onto the great power, or else the thieves may find a way to get to you. For the mercy you seek will be found. Associate yourselves with a wise man. When the fruit is ripe, he comes quickly, sickle in hand, to harvest it. One who has ears to hear should listen." Jesus saw babies being breastfed. He said to his disciples, "These babies being breastfed are like those who enter the sanctuary." They asked him, "If we become babies, will we enter the sanctuary?" Jesus told them, "When you make the 2 become one, and if you make the inside like the outside and the outside like the inside and the top like the bottom, and when you will make the male and the female united, so the male won't act masculine, nor the woman act feminine. And when you render an eye for an eye, and a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot and an image for an image, then you can enter." Jesus said, "I will choose you, 1 of 1,000 and 2 of 10,000. And they will stand as one alone." His disciples said, "Teach us about the place you are, because we need to seek after it." He said to them, "One who has ears should listen. There is light within the person of light, and he gives light to all the world. There is darkness where he doesn't shine. Jesus said, "Love your brother as your soul. Protect him like the pupil of your eye." Jesus said, "You see the fragment in your brother's eye, but you don't see the log in your own eye. When you remove the log out of your own eye, then you will see how to remove the fragment out of the eye of your brother. If you don't abstain from the material world, you will not find the sanctuary. If you don't keep the entire week as Sabbath, you will not see the Creator." Jesus said, "I stood to my feet in the middle of the material world, and I appeared to them as flesh. I found them all drunk. I didn't find anyone among them thirsty. And my soul was in pain for the subjects of the material world, because they are blind in their hearts and cannot see, for they came into the world empty and they also seek to leave the world empty. But now they are drunk. When they throw out the wine, then they will have a change of heart." Jesus said, "If the flesh was born from the Spirit, it would be a miracle. However, if spirit was from the body, it would be a miracle of miracles. But I myself am amazed at how this great richness has made its home in this poverty." Jesus said, "The place that has three godly persons is divine. That place with two or one, I myself exist with him." Jesus said, "No prophet is accepted in his village. A physician doesn't heal those who know him." Jesus said, "A city built upon a high mountain and fortified will not fall, nor will it be hidden." Jesus said, "What you are hearing with your ears, preach this from the rooftops. Because no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, nor does he put it in a hiding place. Instead he puts it on a lampstand so that anyone who comes in will see its illumination." Jesus said, "If a blind man leads a blind man, the two will fall down into a trench." Jesus said, "One cannot go into the house of a strong man and take him by force, unless he binds his hands. Then he can ransack his house." Jesus said, "Don't be concerned from morning to evening, and from evening until morning, about what you will put on." His disciples asked, "Which day will you appear to us? And which day will we look upon you?" Jesus said, "When you disrobe without being ashamed, and take your clothes and put them underneath your feet, like those little ones, and stomp on them, then you look upon the representative of the living one without fear." Jesus said, "Many times you wanted to hear these words I am speaking to you, and you have no one else to hear them from. There will be times when you will seek me and not find me." Jesus said, "The Pharisees and the scribes took the keys of knowledge and hid them. Neither did they go in, and they didn't let in those who wanted to go in. You, however, should be cunning as serpents, and as innocent as doves." Jesus said, "A grapevine was planted apart from the Creator. Having not become established, it will be pulled up by the root and destroyed." Jesus said, "One who holds in his hand, to him it will be given. And one who doesn't hold, the little bit he has will be taken from his hand." Jesus said, "Become transients." The disciples said to him, "Who are you to say these things to us? From what I say you do not know who I am? Instead you have become like the Judeans, for they love the tree and hate its fruit, and they love the fruit and hate the tree." Jesus said, "Whoever speaks against the Creator will be forgiven. And whoever speaks against the representative will be forgiven. But whoever speaks against the Spirit that is holy will not be forgiven, neither in the material world nor the spiritual realm." Jesus said, "They don't harvest grapes from thorns, nor do they gather figs from thistles, as they don't give fruit. A devoted man brings righteous things out of his cash. A wicked man brings wicked things out of his cash, which is in his heart, and he speaks wicked things. Out of the excess of his heart comes wicked things. Jesus said, since Adam until John the Baptist, there is no one born of women greater than John the Baptist, so do not let your eyes be deceived. I tell you this, however, one who will be humbled among you will realize the sanctuary and will exceed John. Jesus said, no one can ride 2 horses nor stretch 2 bows, and a servant cannot serve 2 masters. Otherwise, he will honor one and detest the other. No one drinks aged wine and then wants to drink fresh juice. And they don't put new wine into old wineskins or else they will burst. And they don't put vintage wine into new wineskins or else it will sour. They don't sew an old patch onto new clothing or else it will tear. Jesus said, if to achieve tranquility between each other within this house, they can say to the mountain, move, and it will move. Jesus said, blessed are the solitary ones, the chosen, for you will find the sanctuary. For you came from there and will return to it. Jesus said, if they ask you, where did you come from? Tell them, we came from the light, the place where light came from him alone. He stood to his feet and revealed himself in their sight. If they ask you, are you him? Tell them, we are his servants, and we are chosen by the living Creator. If they ask you, give us a sign for your Creator, tell them, it is movement with peace. His disciples asked him, when will the peace of death occur and when will the new universe appear? He said to them, what you are seeking has appeared but you didn't recognize it. His disciples said to him, 24 prophets taught in Israel, and they all speak through you. He said to them, you ignore the living one within you as you speak about those who are dead. His disciples said to him, is circumcision beneficial to us or not? He said to them, if it was beneficial, their father would have begotten them circumcised from their mother. But circumcision that is true to the Spirit will be completely beneficial. Jesus said, blessed are the humble, for yours is the sanctuary of the spiritual realm. Jesus said, one who doesn't detest his father and his mother cannot become my disciple. And if one doesn't detest his brothers and his sisters and doesn't pull up his stake to follow me will not be worthy of me. Jesus said, one who understands the material world has found only a corpse. And for one who has found a corpse, the material world is worthless. Jesus said, the sanctuary of the Creator is like a man who had good plant seeds. His adversary came in the night and planted weeds among the good seeds. The man didn't let them pull up the weeds. He told them, don't go pulling up the weed or else you'll pull up the grain with it. On the day of the harvest, the weeds will become apparent and they'll be pulled up and burned. Jesus said, blessed is the person who has struggled and found life. Jesus said, seek the living one while you are alive, or else when you die, you will seek to see him and you won't be able to. They saw a Samaritan carrying a lamb as he traveled to Judea. He said to his disciples, what is he seeking with the lamb? They said to him, he will kill it and eat it. He said to them, while it is alive, he won't eat it, but only after he kills it and it becomes a corpse. They said, he won't be able to do it otherwise. He said, you should also seek a place for yourselves in the resurrection, so that you won't become a corpse and be eaten. Jesus said, two will be resting on a bed. One will die and the other will live. Salome said, who are you, sir? You have laid on my bed and eaten from my table. Jesus said to her, I represent him who is just. What I have been given comes from my Creator. I am your disciple. Therefore I tell you, when one is just, he will be filled with light. But when one is self-centered, he will be filled with darkness. Jesus said, I speak my mysteries to those who are worthy of the mysteries. What your right hand will do, don't let your left hand know it is doing. Jesus said, there was a materialistic man who had many riches. He thought, I will use my riches to plant, harvest and farm, and fill my barn with food so I won't need anything. These thoughts absorbed his mind, and during the night he died. Those who have ears should listen. Jesus said, a man was hosting guests, and after preparing the dinner, he sent his servant to invite the guests. He went to the first and said, my master is inviting you. He replied, I have to pay some merchants and they are coming this evening. I must go and give them my orders. Please excuse me from the dinner. He went to another and said, my master is inviting you. He said to him, I bought a house and they require me for a day. I cannot rest. He went to another and said to him, my master invites you. He said, my friend is getting married and I have to arrange the dinner. I won't be able to come. Please excuse me from dinner. He went to another, and said, my master is inviting you. He told him, I bought a farm. I have to collect the rent. I won't be able to make it. Please excuse me. The servant returned and told his master, those who you have invited have all asked to be excused. The master told his servant, go out to the streets and bring those you find back so they may dine. Buyers and sellers do not enter the realm of my Lord. He said. A man had a vineyard. He leased it to some farmers so they could work it, and he would collect its fruit from their harvest. He sent a servant to the tenants to collect the fruit of the vineyard. They grabbed his servant and beat him, and nearly killed him. His master thought, perhaps they didn't know them. He sent another servant. The tenants beat this one too. Then the master sent his son. He thought, perhaps they will respect my son. Since those farmers knew he was the heir of the vineyard, they seized him and murdered him. He who has ears should listen. Jesus said, show me the stone the builders rejected. This is the cornerstone. Jesus said, one who knows it all except for himself lacks everything. Jesus said, blessed are you when they hate you and persecute you. Yet they won't find a place to persecute your heart. Jesus said, blessed are those who have been persecuted in their hearts, they will realize the Creator as He is. Blessed are those who hunger, for their belly will be satisfied. Jesus said, when the one within is born in you, this one you have will save you. If you don't have the one within you, if you don't have him, you will die. Jesus said, I will destroy this house, and it will never be rebuilt. Someone said to him, tell my brothers to divide my father's possessions with me. He said to him, O man, who made me an arbitrator? Then he turned to his disciples and said, truly, am I an arbitrator? Jesus said, indeed, the harvest is plentiful, however, the workers are few. Pray to the Lord so he might send workers out into the harvest. He said, Lord, there are many gathered around the trough, but nothing in the well. He said, there are many standing at the door, but it is only the single ones who will enter the wedding hall. Jesus said, the sanctuary of the Creator is like a merchant who received some merchandise and found a pearl in them. The wise merchant sold the merchandise and bought for himself the pearl alone. You should also seek for yourselves his treasure, which doesn't perish but is eternal, a place where no moths come near to chew, nor worms can destroy. Jesus said, Yahweh's the light above all. Yahweh's everything. Everything came from him and is entrusted to me. Split a log and I will be there. Pick up a stone and you will find me there. Jesus said, Why did you go out to the desert? To see a reed bending in the wind? To see a man wearing fine clothing? Like your kings and influential ones? Those dressed in these fine garments cannot know the truth. A woman from the crowd said to him, Blessed is the woman whose womb gave birth to you and whose breasts nourished you. He said to her, Blessed are those who have listened to the teachings of the Creator and have truly kept them. For there will be a time when you will say, Blessed are the wombs that haven't conceived, and the breasts that haven't given milk. Jesus said, One realizes the material world through the physical body. But for one who occupies the physical body, the material world is not satisfying. Jesus said, One who becomes wealthy should gain power. And one given power should renounce it. Jesus said, One who is close to me is close to the fire. And one who is far from me is far from the sanctuary. Jesus said, Imagery appears before humankind, but within the light of this imagery hides the light of the Creator. He will reveal himself, but his image is shrouded by his light. Jesus said, You are pleased when you look at your reflection. But when you see your true self that existed before your body, which never dies nor becomes visible, how can you rely on it? Jesus said, Adam arose from great power and wealth, and he wasn't worthy of you. For if he was worthy, he would not have tasted death. Jesus said, The foxes have their dens and the birds have their nests. But the servant of humanity has no place to lay his head to rest. Jesus said, Wretched is the body that depends upon a body. And wretched is the soul that depends upon them both. Jesus said, The messengers and prophets will come to you and they will give you what is yours. And you will give to them what you have, and say to yourselves, When will they come to take what is theirs? Jesus said, Why do you wash the outside of the cup? Don't you know that the one who created the inside also created the outside? Jesus said, Come to me, for my yoke is easy and my authority is mild. And you will find peace within. They said to him, Teach us who you are, so we may believe in you. He said to them, You can recognize the appearance of the sky and the earth, but you can't recognize one present before you? And at this moment you don't know how to inquire from him. Jesus said, Seek and you will find. Yet I didn't tell you about those things you asked me about previously. Now that I want to tell you, you are not interested. Don't give what is sacred to the dogs, or else they will toss it into the manure pile. Don't throw pearls to the pigs, as they'll trample them. Jesus said, One who seeks will find, and for one who calls from within, it will be opened to him. Jesus said, If you have money, don't lend it with interest. Instead, give it to those who cannot pay it back. Jesus said, The sanctuary of the Creator is like a woman. She took a little piece of leavening and mixed it with dough and it made some large bread loaves. One who has ears should listen. Jesus said, The sanctuary of the Creator is like a woman carrying a jar full of flour. While walking on a long road, the handle of the jar broke and the flour poured out behind her onto the road. Being unaware of it, she didn't realize the problem. When she entered her house, she put the jar down and found it was empty. Jesus said, The sanctuary of the Creator is like a man who wanted to slay a powerful man. he drew the sword in his house and stuck it into the wall so that he would realize that his hand was strong from within. Then he slew the powerful one. The disciples said to him, "Your brothers and mother are standing outside." He said to them, "Those who do the will of my Lord, these are my brothers and my mother. They are the ones who will enter the sanctuary of my Lord." They showed Jesus a gold coin and said, "Caesar's men demand taxes from us." He told them, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Give to God what is God's. And give to me what is mine. Whoever doesn't detest his father and his mother as I do cannot be my disciple. And one who doesn't love his father and his mother as I do cannot be my disciple. For my mother bore my body, yet my true mother gave me life." Jesus said, "Woe to the Pharisees, for they are like a dog sleeping on the cattle stable, for he doesn't eat nor does he let the cows eat either." Jesus said, "Blessed is the one who knows when the thieves will break in, so he can get up and gather his stuff and clothe himself before they break in." They said, "Come, let's fast and pray today." Jesus said, "For what sin did I do, or in what way have I been overtaken? Rather, when the bridegroom comes out of the bridal chamber, then let them fast and pray." Jesus said, "One who realizes the Creator and the Mother, they will call him the son of a harlot." Jesus said, "When you make the two one, you will be the servants of humanity. And if you say, 'Mountain, move away,' it will move." Jesus said, "The sanctuary is like a shepherd who had 100 sheep. The one that strayed was the most important one. He left the 99 and looked for that one until he found it. After his efforts, he said to the sheep, 'I care for you more than the 99. Jesus said, "One who drinks from my mouth will become like me. I will also become like him. And those things that are hidden will be revealed to him." Jesus said, "The sanctuary is like a man who didn't know he had a treasure buried in his field. And he died and left it to his son. The son didn't know. He inherited the field and sold it. The one who bought it was plowing the field and found the treasure. He began lending the money with interest to whomever he wanted." Jesus said, "One who finds the material world and becomes wealthy, let him renounce the material world." Jesus said, "The skies and the earth will be rolled up in your presence. And one who lives for the living one will not see death." Therefore Jesus said, "For one who finds himself, the material world is not worthwhile." Jesus said, "Woe to the flesh that depends on the soul. Woe to the soul that depends upon the flesh." His disciples said to him, "When will the sanctuary appear?" "It does not appear by looking outward." They will not say, "Look here," or "Look there." Rather, the sanctuary of the Creator is present throughout the universe, yet men don't see it. Simon Peter said to them, "Let Mary leave us, because the maternal are not prepared for life." Jesus said, "I will personally guide her so that she will be divine, so she will also be a living spirit just like you divine ones. Because any woman who becomes divine will enter the sanctuary of the spiritual realm."